Okay, so we are holding by Sif Dalad. We talked about the Sukkah. We said that when a person sanctifies his mouth and his nose and his eyes and his ears, he's zeicher that a Shefa Eloki, the Ruach HaKodesh, will get into his mouth, and that causes his heart to burn to HaKodesh Baruch Hu at all times, and zeicher to new diburim to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, which are Ruach HaKodesh. And we say through the mitzvah Sukkah, Yezocha to this Shefa Eloki, and we said that now we're talking about the fact that this Shefa Eloki is a bchina which is called makifim, and just to sort of make that terminology a little clearer. And that is the fact is that there's always a situation of makif and pnimi. When Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, the Kadosh Baruch Hu has created a reality in which the infinite can be constricted and contained in a vessel, in a faculty, Now, at the end of the Torah, Rabbeinu says that the whole mahalach of this Torah is based on that particular question, a kasha that was asked wherever it was asked in the upper world, in the upper olamis, by malachim, or whoever it is that asked that particular question. And that question, as we will see at the end of the Torah, is how is it possible to bring the makifim in? The principle upon which creation itself is built is that you have an or and kli. You have the light, and you have the kli, the vessel that contains the light. In this world, light in and on itself is invisible. You can't see the light. The only way that you can see the light is if the light itself grabs hold of a certain mitzias, certain reality that can contain it and give it expression. And an example for that is the neshama of a person. You cannot see the neshama. If there's no body to play the host for the neshama itself cannot be ascertained. I mean, you don't know if the neshama here is not. When there's a person, there's a body, and the body moves, and the person speaks, and he lives, you know that there's a neshama here. So the neshama is visible by being expressed through the actions of the vessel that it fills. But in and on itself, the neshama is invisible. It's a light which is way beyond the human gashmisdik eyes to be able to discern. The whole union of the 7 candles that we've been discussing, whether we're talking about the 7 candles in the Mishkan, the Beis Hamikdash, or in a person, there's always 3 stages of the candles, the menorah, and pnei menorah, the face of the menorah. Pnei menorah, you can also say that's talking about the pnim, the inside. That's the light, the way it is before it is contained and constricted with the candles, with the menorah and with the candles. A very important nakuda that we'll learn here, that we need to understand. From the 7 candles, it's not a separate thing, whereas, listen, you gotta work on yourself not to say sheker. And you gotta work on yourself to have Shemayim. And you gotta work on yourself to have Emunas Chachamim. And you gotta work on yourself to close your eyes not to see bad. That's not how you get the menorah. You don't make up the menorah piecemeal. Staying away from saying falsehood and behaving with Yir Shemayim and having Emunas Chachamim and closing your eyes from seeing the things you should not see. All these things are actually a manifestation of the menorah. The menorah means that you are an expression to this makif, to this atika kadisha, that light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that has this, that created the world in order to have an expression in the world. Because you want to express that light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you guard your mouth, you have Yir Shemayim, you have Emunas Chachamim, and you close your eyes from seeing things that are bad. They're all they're all the result of an overall concept of understanding that I was created in order to give expression to the light which is not inside my faculties yet, to bring it in. The only way to bring it in is through the Kedushas Shivas Aneres, the sanctification of the 7 candles. Those 7 candles are known in Sfarim. One division of the totality of the 7 candles is to divide it into 7, of course, as we said, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, and the ears. And there's also another division of these are the expressions of the senses, where it's divided into 4. And it's known, it's known as medrash, which is mare, which is sight, which is daled is dibur, and this is reach, and this is shmiya. This is seeing and speaking and smelling and hearing. And this, we meet this later on, when we spoke about, I'm sorry, before, when we spoke about the sukkah and the proof that Chachamim said about the sukkah, that you have to cover it up, dafka, with something that is not mekabel tuma, which is Ruach HaKodesh. It says ve'ed ya'aleh min ha'aretz. Ed, the aleph itself, has the vav inside, which is the 6, and the letter aleph, which is 1, together is 7. That's one expression. The other one is daled, is medrash, mare, dibur, reach, and shmiya. They're both expression of the same thing. The thing which is really extraordinary about these 4 senses, or 7 candles, if you want to call them, is that obviously when the Rebbe speaks, or the Rebbe brings the way that they are mentioned in Tikkun Zohar, also when he speaks about it, he changes the order, but it starts with the mouth, which is the lowest, and then it goes up to the nose, and then in the Zohar says it goes up to the eyes, and then it goes to the ears. The idea is the menorah is, first of all, that middle line, represented by the nose and the mouth, which is the dibur and the yira. Now the eyes are a little bit further from the middle, and the ears are still further from the middle. The most fascinating fact about these 7 candles is that the dibur is the most gashmistic, most physical of all these senses. You're actually getting air out and you're forming words which are making sounds. This is the dibur. The nose already is smelling something, the smell that wafts in the air. The ears are even more spiritual. You're hearing sounds. You're not even hearing the person who's making the sound. You're hearing the sounds that came out of that person who made the sound, and now they hit your ear. Obviously, the eyes are the highest light. There's tremendous spiritual light in the eyes. It also says that Arizal explains that it is in the level of what they call the primordial man, Adam Kadmon, the olam of Atika Kadisha. He says later on, when the shattering the vessels occurred, it occurred in the level of the eyes. Rabbeinu says, that's why Rabbeinu says, what are the things that you're supposed to do in order to sanctify the candles? So he says, Rabbeinu says about the mouth, Yishmar atzmai melotzi sheker mipiv. You should be very cautious and very careful not to let lie come out of your mouth. And when he says about Yishamayim, you should have Yishamayim. When he talks about the ears, you should believe in the Chachamim, which is in itself a very interesting and unique So when you start from the middle, from the mouth, and you're talking about the nose, and you're talking about the eyes, uh, uh, the ears are the only ones from the senses that the direction, the absorption is a one-way street. The mouth, you know, things come out of the mouth, things come in the mouth. It could be eating, swallow, whatever it is. It's the mouth is a two-way street. The nose, obviously, it's a two-way street. The eyes, Rabbeinu says in Torah Kufay Gimel, this is that there's a light that comes out of the eyes, the light of the eyes, and obviously the eyes receive light. In many places, Rabbeinu says that in Sefer Amidas it says that a tikkun for a woman that suffers, during menstruations, excessively, her refuah is to drink a wine that was looked at by a tzaddik amiti, by a true tzaddik. Because there's a light that comes out of the eyes that we are not aware of. We know about something called Ein Hara. We know about that. But more than that, we're not familiar with the lights, because these are the highest lights that there are. However, from all those organs, the mouth and the nose and the ears and the eyes, the only one that the dibur that comes out of it, which is the lowest of all seven, when you speak a dibur emes, or this is Torah Kuf Yud Gimel, Torah and Torah Tes, that dibur, when you say dibur shel emes, is a Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. When you see that the 10 Ma'amoros that the world was created with, and one, it's Kadosh Baruch Hu said, and there were heaven and earth. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, let there be light. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, let the land bring forth for the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, but it's Kadosh Baruch Hu, it is not said Vayomer Hashem and there became. Vayomer Hashem, let there be man and man became. It doesn't say that. Kadosh Baruch Hu said Nase Odom. He said Nase Odom, and then he created the man, and what did he do? Vayipach be'apov nishmas chaim, and he blew into him a living spirit. Vayi lenefesh chaya, and it became a living spirit. Onkelos says ruach memalalo, a speaking spirit. The ability to speak is the Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. That's why from all those seven that are divided into four senses, the mouth is the only one that is only one. In the nose, you have two nostrils. The eyes, you have the left eye and the right eye. In the ears, you have the right ear and the left ear. And each and every one of them, there is, let's say, the ears, the things you should believe, things you should not believe. The eyes, Ein Yamin and Ein Small, there are things you should look at and you shouldn't look at. And in the nose, you're talking about Yiras Shamayim. There are things that you should have fear from, and things that you should not be afraid of. People today, are filled with Yiras Shel Shav, baseless fears. What is it going to be? What is it going to be from now on? How is it going to be? How I'm going to? I have money. I don't have money. I will have money. What's going on? What am I going to do? Because what are you doing now? What do you mean? What I'm doing now? What you worried about later? Why are you not worried about now? You're breathing now, no? You're existing now. Why aren't you? Why are you worried about what's going to be? What you're going to be when you're going to be in the future? When you're going to be where at that point in time, it's going to be the now then. Now is the then that was before, right? Yesterday, you were worried about today. Here you are today. Why are you not worried about what's going to be with me right now? The same thing is with the future. It's called a year shechinam. What are you going to be worried about? What are you not going to be worried about? But when it comes about the mouth is dibur she'emes. There is no two emeses. There's the truth, and there's a lie. There's no fooling around with that. Nevertheless, when Rabbeinu says about this Inyan of Yir Shamayim, talking about the dibur, ultimately the tachlis is to bring inside the Ora Makif, the light that is still cannot get into your kalim, and bring it in. That's what you need to do. This is what all these 7 candles are for, to bring in this P'chinas Ruach HaKodesh. When you get this kind of moichin, you're no longer dealing with the regular moich of the people of this world. As we said before, the people of this world, the Rambam says it in Shmoyne Prokim. Just turn on. Beg your pardon. The Rambam says that a child doesn't want to learn Torah, so give him a candy. Then he grows up and he doesn't want to learn, so you give him a bike. Then when he grows up, maybe you give him a trip to the Banyas or I don't know what. And so you promise him this. And then when he grows up, you promise him covered or money or whatever it is. But basically, you're doing it for candy from the moment go until the end of life. It just the candy gets to be more sophisticated. Before it was just a candy. Then it became a bike. Then it became some clothing or a trip somewhere. And then it went all the way up in being a covered and money or status or whatever it is. But essentially, it's still a candy. It's a sechel of ocher. What we need to do is we need to bring in the sechel of kedem. The sechel of kedem is the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that permeates everything. When we say makif, as we're going to read here, when we say makif and pnimi means that that's the light that my faculties can contain. I understand that. Okay. But when we're talking about the Ora Makif means the light that I can still not get into my faculties. I still don't get it. Can you explain to me again? Explain to you again. I still don't get it. Okay, so that level is still Pchina of Makif for you. But you have to understand that the Makif is the source of the Or Pnimi. That which you can understand is part of the entire understanding, part of which you understand, part of which you don't. But it's all one thing. It's all one light. It's all a tikka that permeates everything. But the chiddush in this particular Torah is, and we said it a few times, and that is that the only way to gain and to bring in, to be zeichel to that shefa eloki, this ruach hakodesh, is by going through the pchina of achor, of working on your mouth and working on your nose and working on your ears and working on your eyes, and spitting blood. And then you get the shefa eloki. The difference between, and we said, the difference between Jews and non-Jews, the people that live in the Jewish way and the people that live in the non-Jewish way, is that the non-Jewish way is they want to get it for free. The Yetzer Hara pays cash. The Yetzer Hara wants to give everything, gives you everything for free. The fact that afterwards it charges you, with the fig of 20% a week, that's a separate question. What happens with Olam Haba, that's a separate question. But the Tachlis HaInyan is that in order to get the light, you need to work for it. Because by working for it, you're making the kalim to contain the light and to be able to give it expression. That's why people that win the lottery very, very seldom have any money left after a short while, because they didn't work for it. The reason why so many people get into financial trouble is because the banks have made borrowing so easy, and it's just, so people take. Why not? Why shouldn't I take? Why shouldn't I take the money from the bank? And it's available. It's not my money. It's easy money. And then afterwards, okay, so a person took $100,000 from the bank, and with all the percentages that came on or whatever it is, now it becomes $1 million. What does he care? That's not my money. That's not my money. These are all loans. The offer I took. This is the end of this world. The inside of the Inyan is that what the world outside Yiddishkeit craves is a makif that never goes into the pnimi. Only pleasure, only excitement. That's it. Nothing ever more than that. I just one thing. I hope I don't disconnect you, because I just want to make the connection a bit easier. So we said this sukkah that we spoke about, this ruach hakodesh that we spoke about, hu bchinas makifin, and we said that there are two types of makifin. You have the as of yet unattainable makifin that you cannot get in this world at all, because a Kadosh Baruch Hu has put a stopper, a step down mechanism that prevents from too much das to come in, because if this das were to come in, free choice will be gone. And it's very easy to understand. If a person is in the street, somebody pulls a gun, And he tells you, listen, I want you to give me your wallet. What are you going to do? You're going to give me your wallet. Because the minute that your life is in that person's hands, you're going to do what he wants. The minute it's obvious to you that you are in his hands, there's no bechira anymore. There's no free choice. The same thing is with Yiras Hashem. Yiras Hashem, the Yiras Hashem that Rabbeinu wants us to get here, is the Yiras Hashem where, not because you're afraid that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to beat you up if you're not going to say if you're not going to do what he wants you to do. It's not just that what's going to be with Olam Haba. This is very good. This in and of itself is excellent. But Rabbeinu wants to get you and me to a higher level of yira, whereas it is as natural as breathing. Why Rabbeinu over here finds enough yira dafka in the nose? He says many times in Likutey Moharan, he brings that particular, the yira is dafka the nose. You could just as easily have taken the yira as the mouth, because it's a malchus, and the nose is the tiferes. That's the midas emes. Here Rabbeinu switches this. The mouth is the emes. Don't say sheker, and the nose is yira. Why does Rabbeinu says that the nose is yira? Because Rabbeinu wants to bring us to a level that our yiras shamayim will be as natural as breathing. Because when somebody cannot breathe, lo aleinu v'lo aleichem, as it says, techsar anashima, techsar achaim. If you don't have breathing, as everybody knows, especially these horrible times, whatever is going on outside, that's it. There's no breathing, there's no life. The Maharal speaks about that. That's how he explains it. And he says, because the Gemara says that Kadosh Baruch Hu said, Moshe Rabbeinu says, what is Hashem asking from me? Ki im liyira. The only thing that Kadosh Baruch Hu asking, what's the big deal? It's just asking you to have Yiras Shamayim. That's it. The Gemara says, Yiras Shamayim is such a small thing. The only thing I want from you is just a little bit here. What's the big thing? What's a milk? Is a tata? What's a small thing? The Gemara says, the Gav Moshe Rabbeinu is a small thing. No. But he's not speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, he's speaking to us. If Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to us, I said, what I'm asking you just, for a couple $1 million, not a big deal. So, what do you mean I don't have 5,000 shekels? You're talking about $1 million. What's wrong with you? No, but the Indian is as follows. The Maharal likens explains this whole Indian with one word. And that word is bread. And he says, bread is the essential, right? And that's the basic food of men. But when you have bread, what's a big spritz? You have a loaf. Is it fresh? It's not fresh. What do you like? You like full grain. You like light, full grain. Lechem kal. Would you like a baguette? A bread is just a bread. Now, if you're talking about, I don't know, goose liver, or you're talking about some kind of a pate, I don't know. Now you're talking. That's a big spritz. The bread is a bread. What's the big deal? The main difference between necessity and luxury is that necessity Once you have it, it's not a big deal. It's just bread. Air is just air. It's free. But if you don't have it, it's a disaster. If a person doesn't have the necessity for bread, Shem Yerachem, he doesn't have hunger. If he has it, it's no big deal. It's just bread. Luxuries are exactly the opposite. Luxuries, if you don't have them, you don't have them, it's a big deal. If you have them, wow, check it out. I have a caviar. I have it's like, whoa. I have here, Peking duck. Now we're talking, I have a Glen Morangi Signet, $280 a bottle. Now you're talking, that's or whatever you don't have, it's no big deal. But once you have the what? Luxury, if you have it, it's a big deal. If you don't have it, it's no big deal. Necessity, if you don't have it, it's a huge deal. If you have it, okay, so you have it. So it's a big deal, obviously. Duh. Of course I have bread. Moshe Rabbeinu lived on such a saga. I don't have anything, except HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The air that comes into my nose is HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. He's giving me air at every single moment. I have no life without HaKadosh Baruch Hu every single nanosecond. Moshe Rabbeinu lived on a level where the Yira was such an obvious necessity for him. It was like, for us, a piece of bread. You had a Yira. Of course I have Yira. So if you have bread, what do you expect? But for us, it's a huge deal. What Rabbeinu wants is to bring us to the point that Yireh Shamayim would be for us, we'd understand that this is like breathing. If there's no breathing, there's no life. There's no Yireh Shamayim, there's no life. So about Avraham Avinu. That's what he said to Avimelech. He says, why did you tell me that she's your sister? He says, I'm sorry, to Yitzchak, it says, Kien Yiras Elokim. Avraham Avinu said the same thing. They would kill me for my wife. There's no Yira, there's death. And he says there's a certain level of makifim that right now cannot be revealed in this world. Because if they were to be revealed in this world, there'll be no Bechira anymore. It will be so obvious to you that Kadosh Baruch Hu is giving you life at every single nanosecond that you exist. It's like lahavdil, it's like standing in the bank with a bank robber holding a gun. I mean, he says, you lie on the floor, guess what I'm doing? Plop on the floor. If it tells me to make voices of a duck, I'm quacking, man. Because my life is in his hands. The only way that you can get it is through the avodah of Shivas and Ears. Rabbeinu says, first of all, there are makifin that Bechla cannot get down into this world, but there are makifin that do exist in the world, and our job is to bring him in. So Rabbeinu says, what is the makifin? That is why makifin, that a person has such a seichel that the moich simply cannot contain it. So what it is, it surrounds the head. It's around the head. As we said, a few very, very deep wisdoms that the human mind cannot really understand. It. Rabbeinu says about certain confound notions like the Yira, the Bechira, and the Yediyah, the omniscience of the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and the priesthood, and the fact that we have free Bechira. How do the two coexist? We don't understand that. We cannot know it, and this is unknowable. This Rabbeinu says is going to be in the future. Tzaddikim will sit, v'atorosem b'roshem, and then the Bechina will become in, and then people will be already on the level of Malachim. So we says all this. This is one Bechina of Makifin. This is Makifin that are not attainable during the time of this world. But there is another level of Makifin. These are Makifin that are smaller. This is junior Makifin, as it were. These are things that you could get, and again, it's a Sechel Eloki. This is Shef Eloki. This is Ruach HaKodesh. That you can get in this world. And you can get it in this world through the Avodah of the Makifin, or the Shiva Seneris. You can, while you do it, as you do it, you're making the Sefer Chitzoni until it actually comes in. Rabbeinu keeps on going, as we will learn next week, through certain more things that are taking place in the life of a person. Some of them are very, very happy, and some of them are very, very sad. He's going to be talking about Shiva Semea Mishta, talking about marriage, the chuppah. Okay? And he's talking about Shiva Me'avelus La'aleinu, the need of Shiva. All these inyanim are divided into 7. They are the multiplication of the 7 candles. They are the aspects of the 7 candles. When you're talking about Sheva, which is 7, the 7 candles of the candelabra, and you're talking about the 70 years of a person, 10 spheres to each one of the 7 is 70. So full candelabra is 70 years. We're talking about clean 7 years of a person. We're not bringing in the time that was wasted and whatever it is. You have to probably live 100, 120 years to have 7 years. So 7 years is a euphemism for a full, complete life. We say for existence in this world. The fact that the happiness and the sadness of chuppah and lo aleinu avelis, and as Rabbeinu says about the union of yibum, all these inyanim come to tell you one thing. The lack that we're going through in any aspect holds within it the keli, the vessel, with which we bring down the makifin in. There's nowhere, no reality in which the truism of the no free lunches is more correct than in Avodas Hashem. Once you work, then you get it. You get it for free. As we mentioned on Monday, that there's the king gives somebody who's very loyal to him something which is way, in no proportion to the investment that person had to invest in it. And now the little nekuda that I want to touch before we get off about this union of the ears. Each one of the 7 candles is part of one candelabra. The union of the ears is a very interesting, you take the ears is a lower level than the eyes. Chazal says, somebody is sumech chushuv kames, somebody who doesn't have sight is considered as if he's not alive at all. Shem Yirachem. Nevertheless, when the Gemara says the halacha is that If a person chas v'chalila, cause a person to become blind, this is how much does he have to pay him? The Gemara says, you all the time, all the nezikin, all the damages are always calculated by a slave. A slave has certain value. When you take a slave and you sell in the market, and that slave doesn't have an eye or doesn't have an eyesight, how much less is he worth? And this is how much money is supposed to pay in damages. But when we're talking about hearing, the Gemara says if somebody causes somebody to lose his hearing, he has to pay his entire worth. Eyesight, he's considered like dead. The ears, so he can hear. What is lost in with the loss of hearing, that the Torah says you have to pay his full worth? It's like right now he's worth nothing. What is lost there? The remez is very, very profound. He's losing. What is the thing that is so special about a slave? A slave is somebody who is mevutel, is in bitol to his master. He only has his ear to hear what his master says. His opinion does not matter. The emunas chachamim. That's why they said, when a slave doesn't want to go out, you take him to the door and you pin his earlobe to the door. Why dafka the ear? It says the ear that heard from Sinai, Kilib, Bnei Yisrael avodim, Bnei Yisrael are my slaves, going to sell himself to be, to be a slave of somebody else. Let that ear. The ear is the thing that signifies it's only one direction. Sounds only comes in. Sound does not go out. It only comes in. Emunas chachamim means that you will reach a madrega of bitul to the chacham through your emunas chachamim, that you believe that the truth, again, that's the mouth, that comes out of his mouth is totally clean, and it comes from madrega. This is a shefa eloki. That in their words of the chachamim, the razin eloin, the supernal secrets in every single thing that they tell you. You listen differently. Most people don't listen at all. And even if they do listen, they're still, I don't agree with it. I have my own opinions. I have my own way of looking at things, whatever it is. But the kind of emunas chachamim means that you reach a madrega of bitul. You become a keli. Your ear is glued to the mouth of the chacham. Because as I said before, the mouth is the shofar of the emes, because the dibur is a Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. Vayipach be'apov nishmas chaim. There says, "Kol the nafach midilei nafach." Whoever it is that blows is blowing his own essence. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't see out of your eyes. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't hear out of your ears. He doesn't breathe out of your nose, but he does speak out of your mouth. He definitely does when you speak the truth. And he definitely speaks out of the mouth of the tzaddik. And the reason why you're totally bottled, you're only here. You don't say anything. You just listen. You're open. It's only goes one way. Because you know that the level of cleanliness of the emes that the tzaddik is giving you is one that is way beyond you. And any kind of arguments that you can bring, any kind of opinions that you can bring to the table are the fruits of your own achar, of your own human seichel. It's still about a candy, or a bike, or clothing, or covet, or pleasure. It's not about emes. The chacham is somebody who has reached an emes, clean emes. That's why it says, that the mouth, Rabbeinu says that the shleimus is Moshe Rabbeinu. The mouth, the Shechina speaks out of Moshe's mouth. Because the truth is so total. Because Baruch Hu speaks from his mouth. There's no Moshe there. The year is a small thing of Moshe Rabbeinu. The year about Moshe Rabbeinu is already, we're talking already about Moshe Rabbeinu is an onov. This is the apex, the epitome of Yira is already total anivus, total humility, total humbleness. The year is very interesting about Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, what is the Emunas Chacham Moshe Rabbeinu? B'chol beisi ne'emanu. He's totally faithful. Moshe Rabbeinu knew everything. And he did not reveal. He only revealed that which needed to be revealed. Moshe Rabbeinu knew everything. You can see there's a little hint. He went to the Shemaim. He got presents from the Malachim. When he came down, when there was the Megefa, there was the plague. What did he say? He says to Aaron HaKohen, go ahead, take the machta, put the incense from it and go between the people and stop the death. How did you know about that? Malach HaMavis gave him a present, told me that's how you stop death. That's how you stop a plague. You take the machta, you put Ketores, and you run with it. Moshe Rabbeinu could do anything. But he didn't do a thing. There's no 100% faithful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a Musachon of Moshe Rabbeinu. But Hashem, we will stop here. And Baruch Hashem, we have gewaldige, amazing Shabbos of Shabbos Yisrael, and it's important just to say a couple of words about Dafka the In of Yisrael, because Yisrael is Dafka the In of ears. Vayishma Yisrael. Yisrael heard. Rashi says, what did he hear? Ma Shmua Shama Yisrael Beba. What did he hear? And he came. Because to hear, everybody came. Everybody heard. Shamush, Yoshve Plushes, everybody, all the nations saw, they were scared out of their wits. They knew, everybody heard. But Rashi says, what did Yisro hear that made him come? Nobody else came. He did. Why? What did he hear? So Rashi says on this week's Pasha, he says he heard two things. He heard Kriyas Yamsuf and Milchemes Amalek. What does it mean? On one hand, there was a revelation. Kadosh Baruch Hu himself beat up on the Mitzrim, split Yamsuf, and got the Yidden through it. It was a total proof that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is Melech, and this is it. That's it. There's no more Bechira anymore. And what comes immediately afterwards? Comes Amalek. The Am Yisrael is coming out of Mitzrayim. The Medrash says, what is Amalek like? He says, it's a mashal to a boiling bath. It comes, a mamzer that jumps into it. Even though he burnt himself, he already cooled off that particular pool to everybody else. Am Yisrael comes out of Yamsuf, comes out with such miracles. Everybody, all the goyim are shaking in their boots. Amalek comes, even though there was a total revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Amalek comes and says, here, I'm starting against them. Everybody says, well, if he starts against them, then in other words, Yisro heard and understood that after such a gewaldige Gilui, a gewaldige revelation. Kodesh Baruch Hu himself, what a maiden servant saw in the sea, the biggest prophet did not see. She saw Kodesh Baruch Hu, Zekeli Van Vel. It's still possible that Amalek will come right afterwards. I will get you all the way down. Yisro understands, I have to go to Moshe. I have to go to the tzaddik, because I will always, on my own, I will always be in danger. Even if I'll see the greatest revelation of godliness, I'll be in a danger to fall to the lowest madrega that there is. I have to go to Moshe. Mashmu Shama Uva. What did he hear? And he came. He heard that you can see the greatest proof and still become a mamzer Hashem Yachid. He says, no, you have to go to the tzaddik. You have to go to the tzaddik. It's not enough that you heard about it. Everybody is afraid, but nobody came and says, okay, tell me what to do. Tell me what the truth is. B'ezrat Hashem, should all have a good Shabbos. Hopefully we'll be able to see everybody on Motzei Shabbos on Sichas Haran. I believe we're talking about Sichas Nun Chesim Yis Hashem. I wish you all the very, very best. And should have B'ezrat Hashem Kol Tuv